Hello and welcome to my Fabric mod development tutorial. This tutorial will teach you how to install IntelliJ and how to import a Fabric mod workspace into that development environment. Today I am going to be working inside a virtual machine, which is just a clean operating system install so that you can see that I'm doing it completely from scratch. And this tutorial series aims to teach you first and of course how to make a Fabric mod. However, I also plan to teach how you can use the tools that you're given to learn different things about the Minecraft code and learn how to figure it out yourself too, because that's a very important part of modding, is learning how to deal with new changes or just a part of the code you've never had to work with before. So before we start, there's just a few requirements that I assume that you have before you start this tutorial. The first one is having a basic understanding of Java, and this is just a prerequisite to modding because you can't very well make Minecraft mods if you don't know how to program. The second requirement that I have is just administrator access to the computer so that we can install IntelliJ. The first thing we'll do is install IntelliJ, of course. And so for that I want you to go to this link down in the description. It should take you to the correct tab for your operating system. And so if you're on Windows, you simply go over to the community area over here and press download. And then we'll press download here. It will take you to this screen, and this is a Linux specific thing. It asks me whether to save it, and so I'll just press OK, and then it will start downloading idea.exe. Alright, so now that that's completed, what you'll want to do is simply just open that exe file and proceed to the timestamp currently on the screen. Now, for Linux users, I recommend, if your distribution has a package for IntelliJ IDEA, please use that instead of the download here. This download will work and is what you actually have to do on Debian. However, please use your package manager instead. It just makes the entire experience so much easier. Alright, so now we've downloaded IntelliJ and opened the app by either double clicking the exe file on Windows or launching it however you launch it on Linux. And so the first thing I'll show you is that you have to accept their privacy policy. So we're just going to accept that and press continue. Data sharing, this is up to preference. I am going to hit don't send here. Now we wait a moment for it to launch the second part of the setup process. And the first choice you'll be given is what UI theme you want to use. You can use light or dark. It doesn't particularly matter, but I prefer dark. The next two things will be most likely different on Windows. However, they should be commonplace if you have installed software before. Now, once you reach this screen, you will want to this is where you will tune IntelliJ to the tasks that you want to be doing. And so the only things we're going to customize is we're going to go under build tools here, press customize, and turn off ant, save changes and go back. And now that ant is disabled, we're also going to disable swing, Android, and plugin development. And you can disable any of the other things inside IntelliJ. However, I recommend just leaving it at these defaults. Proceed to the next step, which is download featured plugins. If any of these catch your eye, you can download them. However, I personally don't. And so once you're ready, you can just press start using IntelliJ IDEA, and it will open up the IntelliJ IDEA window. Alright, so now we've reached the new project screen. And this is the base screen for IntelliJ. However, before pressing new project, we're first going to go down here to configure and press configure to plugins. And now once we're in the plugin store, we want to search under the marketplace tab Minecraft and install the Minecraft development plugin. This just brings a whole bunch of support for different modding frameworks that IntelliJ doesn't particularly support by default, and it provides a whole bunch of nice things that will be very useful in your development. It will give you a privacy note. Just press accept and wait for it to install. Once it's installed, simply press OK. And now we will proceed to press New Project. Now that we're in the New Project screen, we can simply press the Minecraft button on the side here, and you'll see a list of options that looks something like this. But before we actually select anything and continue on, we will want to go up to this Project SDK bar up here at the top, click on it, and press Download JDK. And if you already have a JDK on your system, you can just add it. It will most likely detect it. However, I recommend downloading it from this menu. So you'll want to go to the vendor and select Adopt OpenJDK Hotspot, and then version you will want to select 1.8.0 and press download. Now the reason we use 1.8.0 for Minecraft is because the vanilla Minecraft launcher by default ships a 1.8 version of Java when you install Minecraft. And so this is just making sure that our mods are completely compatible with the vanilla launcher of Minecraft. And so the next thing we'll do is simply check the box on Fabric Mod, press Next, and you should see a screen like this. The first thing we will enter is a group ID. I use the group ID io.github.amirbagatelle, and this is the group ID is what identifies the code as yours, and it's so that anybody can take a look at your code and say, oh hey, it came from the GitHub account Amirbagatelle. And so I use io.github.amirbagatelle. You can also use a website domain if you own a website, or just replace my username with your GitHub username, or just use your username by itself, but it should be in all lowercase and have periods separating each individual thing. So next is the artifact ID. This should be an all lowercase title of your mod. It can be an abbreviation, however, I don't particularly recommend that. We're going to go with a full tutorial mod artifact ID. And what this does is it simply identifies our mod to the Fabric loader, where it can say, oh hey, this is the fault of this mod, or here's what mods are being loaded, including your artifact ID. And so version, we're just going to leave it at 1.0 snapshot. I will go over proper versioning practices in the next tutorial. And we can just press next. And next we'll see this screen that says fabric settings, and we will want to change our mod name. This is the full name for your mod, and you can make it however you want. I like to do no spaces, however that's totally preference. You can have spaces in it, it won't matter. However, I just prefer it that way. Next, we're going to select the Minecraft version 1.16.1 is going to be the target version for this tutorial. Yarn version is going to be 1.16.1 build 21. For at least right now, it should automatically select the right one. As well with loader version, it will automatically select the right one, and it doesn't matter a ton what loader version you're using. The loom version, at the time of this tutorial coming out, the 0.5 snapshot loom version is unstable, so we are going to go ahead and scroll down and select 0.4 snapshot. Next, we see the environment field, and we're just going to select both for this tutorial. However, when you're making a mod, you could also select client or server to get a client or server only mod. Next option is use mixins. I will be covering mixins in this tutorial, and so leave that checked. The next option is decompile Minecraft, and I know it's weird positioning. It looks like that's one word, but it's just decompile Minecraft, and so we'll leave that checked as we do want to be able to look at the Minecraft source code. Next is license. I recommend leaving it at all rights reserved if you do not know what license you want your code to be under, as licensing is a tough topic that has many different ways of approaching it, and it's really all up to preference. However, all rights reserved if you don't know what you want currently. Next, we'll see Fabric API version. We are going to use Fabric API for this tutorial, and 1.16.1, and that should be the correct Fabric API version. In there, it will automatically select it. Next is entry points. They should look something like this, and I'll be explaining those later. However, they don't need touch for now. The description, we can put in a description of the mod if we like. We can always change this later, as with everything in the setup screen. So let's put in a description of a tutorial mod for my series. And then authors, put your username so that people can see that you are the author of this mod. Website and repository, we're going to leave blank. If you have a GitHub repository where you are storing your code, or other place where you're storing your code, you can put that in there now. However, if you don't know, just leave it blank. Now you can press next, and you'll probably want to change the project to location to somewhere easy to access for you, as you may not always be accessing the project from inside IntelliJ. And so I'm just going to change it here from home/idea project/entitled to my home directory /modding, and then I'm going to make another folder within modding. And I'm going to make another folder within modding called tutorial mod, or the name of my mod, and press OK. And then select that folder, press OK. Should automatically set the project name to the name of the folder, and just press finished. Just press finish. Now we just wait for IntelliJ to start. You may see that IntelliJ will give you a tip of the day at the very beginning. You can press don't show tips if you don't care, but I recommend leaving this on for a little while. However, no need to leave it on forever, so just you can check the checkbox when you're done seeing them. Press close. And now we will wait a little longer for the 3 tasks that it shows down in this corner to finish working. Alright, so now the tasks have all finished running. Your IntelliJ window should look something like this. And as you can see, I've already messed up in some way where it has turned it into tutorial mod with lowercase m. And the easy way to fix that is just to press Shift F6 while your cursor is on the word tutorial mod client and wait for it to tell you, and then press it again and it should bring up this menu. So now just cursor over and type it correctly, and now press refactor. Now it should be named correctly. You can do the same with the other class. And now the tutorial mod should, or your mod should be at least basically set up. There are a few things we will want to check before finally being finished. The first of those is we want to make sure that all of these files are here. So your main folder should look something like this. And then under src main resources, we should go into fabric.mod.json. We should see the ID, all in lowercase, the artifact ID we entered. Version should be $version, just like that. Name should be tutorial mod, like you entered. Or name should be whatever name you entered. Description should be the description you entered. Authors should be your username that you entered. Contact, if you entered in a website or repository, that this is where it will be. License, whatever license you picked. Environment should be all, and if it's not, you can just change that now. And then entry points. These will by default be highlighted in red because technically because it doesn't generate it correctly at the moment. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go and find the folder that our entry points are in, and that's these 2 files. So you're going to go into Java and then io.github your group ID dot your artifact ID, and then tutorial mod, and then client to tutorial mod client. So for the client, we're going to do group ID. So for me, that's io.github dot Amir Bagatelle dot VM is a little unstable. It's normal for this computer. I don't know why. But when you do that, it should highlight it in green. However, you can see I've done something wrong. And so let's see, what could I have done wrong? Alright, so we're going to, while that's still highlighted in red, we're going to go and check the main entry point. So let's try io.github.amirbagatelle.tutorial mod. That should light up in green once it's done. And now I just realized my mistake here. I forgot to include the artifact ID when declaring my entry points. And so now I have to wait for the computer to unfreeze. And here's the crash report that comes with when you have an invalid entry point. And we're just going to solve that by making it tutorial mod dot, and I forgot to put this entire path in the description here, or in the pointer. And so now it should turn green, and you should be able to just launch Minecraft the same way and have it run. Next is we're going to check the get ignore, make sure that it's filled correctly. It should look somewhat like this. If it doesn't, then you simply want to, then we'll discuss that later, but if it does look like that, that's great. And then build.gradle, gradle.properties. These are some of the things that determine versions and what libraries your mod is using. We'll get more into that later. But by default, these should be set up correctly. And so that now concludes this tutorial. And now, before you watch the next tutorial, I suggest you learn the IntelliJ IDE and that you personalize it a little bit, get to know what you're using so that you aren't caught blindsided when I try to use something that you don't know about. Thanks for watching. Next episode I will be using my personal IntelliJ setup as opposed to this one, because it will just be simpler and faster for me to show how to do things. But I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope it was helpful. And if you have any questions, either leave them in the comments or go to the Fabric Wiki. Check that out. That's a great resource. As well as the Fabric Discord is also a very great resource, and you might even spot me in there. So, see y'all on the next tutorial.